Well, welcome to the Missouri Healthy Schools live podcast. My name is Guy Danhoff, and I'll be your host over the next 45 minutes. As today, or tonight actually, we're going to be talking about Missouri local wellness policy guidance and implementation. And I'm really excited about tonight as we wrap up our 23-24 school year, as we're going to have an amazing topic. And I want to get right into it and introduce our guests. And I'm going to come over here really quick, and I'm going to bring on, first of all, bring up Barb. And we got Barbara Shaw. There she is. Barbara, you are the Missouri State Coordinator for Child Nutrition Programs, and that includes the National School Lunch Program at the Department of Education. Barbara, talk us a little bit more about your background. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I've been with education for about 12 years now, and I've been the coordinator and state director for 5 years now. And I find it just fascinating to work with all the schools and to implement the regulations and just see just the positive impacts that go down to the level of the children that we're serving.
Absolutely. Well, Barbara, we're so excited to have you on the podcast tonight. Then we're also going to bring in Ginger Thompson. She is a registered dietitian with years of childhood nutrition experience in menu and recipe development, food allergy meal planning, and local wellness policy. And Ginger, I got a chance to read your bio. Quite interesting, some of the things that you've done. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Okay. Yeah. Like you said, I'm a registered dietitian. So I do have several years of experience as a clinical dietitian working in the hospital setting with medical nutrition therapy. And more recently worked for a school district in the Kansas City area as their district dietitian. So I did all the menu planning, food allergies, worked with the school nurses, all that kind of stuff. I'm now working for DESE, where I am in charge with DESE Food and Nutrition Services of local wellness policy. So one of my goals is to help schools throughout the state of Missouri, districts, better understand and implement local wellness policy in their schools.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm just throwing this up there for our viewers. So obviously tonight's show, we're going to focus on this aspect, which is the local wellness policy, the LWP, the guidance and the implementation. So I think the most obvious question to start with, because I had it when I had a chance to see our topic. Well, first of all, what is local wellness policy, or as you like to say, the LWP?
Right. Okay. Well, a local wellness policy, it is a written document. It's also a board policy. So it can be found in the board policies at school districts. And it's a policy that guides the efforts of local education agencies or school districts to create a school environment that promotes the students' health, well-being, and their ability to learn. Local education agencies that do operate National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program are required to develop and implement a local wellness policy. So that's how DESE is so closely associated with that local wellness policy, because that policy is part of the Food and Nutrition USDA review that we carry out in the Food and Nutrition Department.
So Ginger, how often does this get updated?
Well, that's something we will talk about it as needed. So okay. There are assessments that we'll discuss that schools are required to do on that policy. So as needed, they are to review, form committees. There's quite a bit to it. So it does need to be updated as needed.
Okay. So with that, what are the minimum requirements of the local wellness policy?
Okay. And there are minimum requirements. So I think we have a slide on that.
Yeah, I'll bring that up for you.
Yeah, excellent.
Here we go.
So there are minimum requirements, and I'll touch just a little bit on each of those. So there are actual verbiage that has to be in the local wellness policy per USDA requirements on each of these topics. So for policy leadership, the local wellness policy does need to identify the official that's responsible for the local wellness policy oversight. So the wellness coordinator in the district. It doesn't have to necessarily spell out the person's name. It can also just list their position, if it be the superintendent, the school nurse, the food service director. For public involvement, language is needed to be included in the local wellness policy, stating that they're permitting the public to participate in the local wellness policy implementation, the review, the development of the local wellness policy. And this is to get lots of stakeholders involved. So there does need to be language and outreach to various stakeholders, including administrators, classroom teachers, PE teachers, school food authorities, meaning the food service department, school nurses, community members and parents, students, medical and healthcare professionals in the community. So that there's a lot of different stakeholders involved in that wellness policy and their committees. Public updates are required, and language needs to be in the wellness policy addressing that. So LEAs are required to inform and update the public about the content and the implementation of the wellness policy. And then the triennial assessment, which we'll go into detail a little bit later here, but there does need to be language in that local wellness policy regarding completion of that triennial assessment. School meals, language saying that related to adhering to the federal nutrition regulations for school meals. School foods that are sold outside of school meals, it's required that those adhere to smart snack guidelines, and that has to be stated in the wellness policy. There is also language regarding foods provided but not sold. And these are going to be things like classroom party snacks, class snacks, rewards. The LEA is actually responsible for defining the guidelines and including those in the written policy. The USDA doesn't set specific requirements, but the state and the USDA encourage that the LEA consider lifelong healthy eating habits and the nutrition and energy needs of children when establishing those standards. For marketing, that would be food and beverage marketing. And LEAs may only market products that adhere to the smart snack guidelines during the school day. So they need to include language like that in their written policy. For the nutrition education, the nutrition promotion, and physical activity, the requirement is that the LEA must include at minimum one goal for each of those in their local wellness policy. And of course, most local wellness policies have extensive goals for all of those areas. Those goals must explore and use evidence-based strategies. So they have to use evidence-based strategies when identifying those goals. And then the other school-based strategies, they must include also at least one at minimum other-based school strategy for wellness, which would be like community partnerships, family engagement, staff wellness, professional learning, just to name a few. So those are all of the minimum requirements through the USDA that we would look for through a DESE Food and Nutrition Services Administrative Review.
So Ginger, I'm saying this because I don't know, but how many people are actually involved in this process? Because the topics there are so vast and there's a plethora of them. So just approximately how many people are involved in putting together this policy based on all those topics?
Well, and we will discuss that there are actual model policies available to help guide school districts, LEAs in creating those wellness policies. But it should be a collaboration between many entities through the school. So even though this falls under the food service department, it should be the nurses, the superintendent, board members, parents, students, all involved with that local wellness policy. And the wellness policy is ever changing. It's a moving document that should be reviewed often, and making sure that that schools are following those guidelines. And that's part of the triennial assessment that we'll discuss as well.
Okay.
So that's,
All right, let's get to your next slide then.
Yes.
So obviously now you're going a little more deeper into the policies, correct?
Yes. So this is the assistance that is available. There is model wellness policies available through the Missouri School Board Association, through the Missouri Consultants for Education, and those are Missouri specific. And so these are actual model policies that include all of the requirements I just spoke about. And then they also include other different assessment tools that you can use. A lot of times it'll include sun safety, water quality, health education, health services. Wellness policies are normally much wider than just the things that I just discussed previously. So this helps guide LEAs on making sure they meet those minimum requirements and making sure they meet all those other points that can be in their wellness policy. There's also national model wellness policies. There's several available. Here, I just mentioned the one for Alliance for a Healthier Generation.
Yep.
And that QR code there does take you to our DESE Food and Nutrition Wellness webpage, where you can have access to all of those different model policies and a vast number of other resources for wellness as well.
All right, I'm going to make it bigger just for a second.
Yeah, of course.
That way, if someone wants to scan it, they can.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I love the whole QR code thing. It makes our lives
Right.
a lot easier, especially in this format. All right, let me
Sure.
get to the next slide. Here we go.
Okay, and we touched on this with one of your questions a few minutes ago, but I just really want to emphasize that it is a team effort. So you should have a wellness leader at your district. You should have a district wellness committee, and then also school wellness teams, especially if it's a larger district, because you are creating this wellness policy that may say all these wonderful things, but then you have with the school wellness teams, they can ensure that everything to help benefit the children and help support that student wellness and academic success is being carried out at the school level as well. So again, I list there all the different all the different stakeholders to invite to those to the wellness committee to get them involved. The PE teachers, parents, principals, school nutrition services, school nurses, school counselors, community leaders, school board, students. And I also have on here to meet at least 4 times a year. We don't require that, but at minimum, really to have a successful wellness committee and successfully carry out your wellness policy, you should make an attempt to meet at least 4 times a year.
Yeah, Ginger, it's interesting you say that. Our very last podcast, we did a feature on some of the school districts, including like the Baylor School District.
Sure.
And they were talking heavily about how they meet 4 times a year and what they do and how they get so much buy-in and things like that. It was a fantastic podcast. If anyone's interested in seeing it, you can just go again to our YouTube channel here at Missouri Healthy Schools, and you can see that podcast in its entirety. All right, moving forward, talk to us about this topic.
Okay. So this is the triennial assessment. So this is how we would go about, or how LEA would go about assessing their local wellness policy. So the USDA does require at minimum, the USDA does require at minimum that a LEA complete an assessment of their local wellness policy at least once every 3 years. Annually is wonderful. If a school district prefers to do it annually, but our requirements for administrative reviews would be once every 3 years. One thing to mention, those results do need to be made available to the public after you complete your triennial assessment. And there's 3 required components of the triennial assessment. The first requirement is looking at the extent to which your local wellness policy compares to model policies. And model policies are those that we discussed through the Missouri School Board or Missouri Consultants for Education. And then look at the extent to which schools comply with the local wellness policy. And this is where those school teams are so important, come into play. And then also the progress made in attaining the goals of the local wellness policy. So you can look at your progress, to see if your local wellness policy may need to undergo some changes. Look at if you're meeting those goals, if you're following your wellness policy at your schools, and see what changes may need to be made to make sure that you're doing the best you can for those students and their health and their academic performance.
Okay.
And so on the next slide, this goes through how to complete the triennial assessment. And so for the first requirement that I discussed, the three components, I had said the extent to which the local wellness policy compares to model local wellness policies. And there are different tools you can use. This is the most recommended tool. It's the WellSat 3.0, and it is an online tool that you can log in to complete this assessment. And this is the assessment that measures your actual policy and compares it to make sure that your policy is meeting those goals of a model policy. So this is looking at the overall district policy itself to make sure your policy that you have written is meeting the goals or the requirements of a policy. And then the next slide.
Okay.
And then we would look at the extent to which schools are complying with that local wellness policy. So the tool that we would recommend for this would be the School Health Index, or SHI. And this is a CDC's tool. And so the SHI is you're going to complete that for each of your buildings. And you're going to see how you're actually complying with that policy at each of those buildings to see if each of your schools are meeting those marks in your wellness policy. So there's two parts of the triennial assessment. And then, like I said, from that, the results from all that, then you can look at your achievements, look at what progress you've made, and set new goals in the coming years before your next assessment.
All righty.
Okay. And there are other assessment tools I did just want to mention, because the USDA does not require specific assessment tools. It just requires that a triennial assessment is completed and it meets those three required components. There are other tools such as the WPAT, which brings together the WellSat and the SHI. And then Alliance for a Healthier Generation also has tools available for the triennial assessment. Like it says there at the top, I always refer schools to look at the language in their current wellness policy, because as we discussed, there is a triennial assessment portion that they have to have in that local wellness policy. And usually if they refer to their actual wellness policy, they will see that it states, we will complete the triennial assessment once every 3 years using WellSat 3.0 and another CDC tool. So they can usually determine what tools they should be using by looking at their wellness policy. We are also always available to help refer them to the best tools for their district. It can be a little different if they're a very large school district with several sites, or if they're just a one school district. It may not require as many assessment tools.
All righty.
Okay, and so here, this is one of the things we're doing to support schools. This is a current project that we're working on to provide some support to schools. Myself and the Missouri Healthy Schools team collaborated together and came up with a handout, which is a one-pager front and back, which basically covers all of the information that I'm going over today. It goes through what the local wellness policy is, the minimum requirements, discusses the model policies, and then takes you step by step how to complete that triennial assessment. So this is a tool we have available. Again, those are on the QR code. They're on our website. And there is also another tool, the Triennial Assessment Summary, that is new. And that just helps once you complete your triennial assessment tools, then you can actually use the other document to summarize. And then you post all that publicly, the results publicly, to share that to meet the requirement through the USDA. And then we are doing some different outreach to schools. And since we've created those new documents, and one of those things that I am personally doing is I've looked at schools who had findings on their 2021 and 22 or 22-23 school year administrative reviews. And I am reaching out to those schools and providing one-on-one assistance. So I'm providing them with source resources, the new handouts. Myself and the Missouri Healthy Schools team is available, depending on what their needs are, to meet via phone, via email, in person if needed. And that's for any LEA. Even if you weren't reached out to, we are available to assist. If you need help with your triennial assessment, if you need help, you're not sure, what changes might need to be made to be in compliance with your local wellness policy, or if you're wanting to expand your local wellness policy with something like farm to school, we're there to help and provide that information and the resources for that. And the second part there, I was going to have Barb speak to. Those are another tracking tool we're going to use to find out, to determine what LEAs may need assistance. I don't know if Barb is still there.
She's having some technical difficulties.
Okay,
She's
that's
actually,
okay.
she's actually off the broadcast temporarily. So I
Okay,
would just
no
say
problem.
fill in for now, but if we get her back, we can certainly have her speak to it.
You bet. Okay. So I will discuss that. We do have, we are working on every local education agency yearly has to fill out our application with DESE Food and Nutrition Services. So we're going to be adding a set of questions inside that application to where we can gather information about local wellness policy at the school level, finding out who is in charge, finding out about the wellness committee, who the members are, what model policies they're using, what assessments they're currently using, when they completed their last triennial assessment. All of these different type of information we're gathering. So just like the other project that I'm currently doing to provide assistance, so we can reach out to those LEAs as well and provide additional assistance. And I don't know, Barb, if you wanted to talk any more to that. I just kind of mentioned the new questions that are going to be coming out in the near future.
I'm not sure if she can actually hear us.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think she can, because if she would need to be speaking right now, that is a bummer. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'm going to pivot for right now to the resource that we were talking about, and here it is.
Okay.
So basically, one of the things you can do is, and our team of experts are always here to help school districts. If you have any questions or need assistance, you can go directly to the MissouriHealthySchools.com website. I'll put it like here for you and make it easy. So if you just went to MoHealthySchools.com, you'll find all these resources that are actually on the screen now, as well as further resources, and certainly to the things that Ginger was just talking about. And so, Ginger, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Barb another shot of logging in. What's really weird is we had her on, as you know, when we were doing kind of the run through of the show. She was on fine, but for whatever reason, she's been chatting back and forth with me. That for whatever reason, her audio is not working correctly.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this screen, though.
Sure. And on that Missouri Healthy Schools website, too, on the Ask the Expert, which is right when you go onto the website, there is a new choice on there where you can choose local wellness policy. A triennial assessment is a topic. So you can check that and put a question there. And those questions will come straight to myself or another member of the Missouri Healthy School team so we can assist. So we're available anytime. Like I said, I can travel to a local, to the district, provide assistance. I can have a WebEx. We can do whatever's necessary to assist in completing that triennial assessment and giving any type of local wellness policy assistance needed.
Well, that's actually awesome. And, Ginger, one of the things you talked about with the SHI, and I know through the past year, we've had several school districts on talk about the SHI. I know that there was, I want to say about a year ago at this time, we had 11 school districts participate into the one of the programs that used the SHI. And it was really amazing what people were able to find with that assessment that they didn't realize because of it. So with that, let's see if we got Barb and see if she can hear us. Barb, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Apparently not. That is a bummer, because Barb has a lot to say. I'm going to see if she can just try talking. Can you try talking? Can you try talking? Let's see if she gets this. Go on live chat with her to see if this works. Still cannot hear. Can you talk to see if we can hear you? Can you talk to see if we can hear you? Can you talk to see if we can hear you? I know you gotta love modern technology, right?
Looks like she's on mute. I don't know if.
Yeah. Can you try unmuting? Can you try unmuting? Try unmuting. You gotta, I gotta tell her to unmute.
There.
Okay.
I'm going to talk and see if you guys
There
can
we
hear me.
go.
You do.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay.
So-
I cannot hear you.
Talk about the
New
Pulling this all the way
questions. The new questions on the application.
talk about the new questions on the application. Okay, talk about the new questions on the application. All right. So I'm live chatting to her in case you're wondering. It's kind of fun. She should see it, but we hear her audio, so hopefully this will work. Okay.
Okay. Well, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to do my best. I've logged on and off several times, and I had sound. Now I don't. So I'm glad you can hear me. So I will try to jump in and talk about the new application questions that we are adding to what is called our school nutrition program packet, and it is housed in a technology system that the schools use to update their school nutrition program, building applications, enroll into programs, enter their claims. The administrative reviews are completed through the system. The procurement reviews are completed through the system. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for schools to enter in information and that we can run reports out of. So the purpose and the vision of adding information to an application like this that schools are already using is for us to, one, be able to track who has not done an assessment and quickly be able to reach out to them and help them help identify who has not done an assessment and be able to get them those resources quickly rather than waiting till they get an administrative review, and that's every 5 years with a little bit of technical assistance in between. So it's hard for us to keep up with those that are maybe needing some assistance with the triennial assessments and getting them the assistance that they need. So that's the purpose and the vision of adding the questions to an existing system, and we will be able to quickly run reports and also to track the type of assessments that the schools have been using to make sure that they are using the right assessments, and really just giving them all the resources that they need, but us to be able to have a system to quickly do that.
Yeah.
So hope that helps.
Absolutely. Yep. Right now, as far as administrative reviews for the entire food and nutrition program, it's every 5 years, while the triennial assessment is required every 3 years. So they don't match up. So it is important for us to have another method to track and assist because wellness is so important, like I said, for academic performance. So it's really, really important for us to continue to provide the assistance needed. I think what I really want to emphasize, though, is the importance of all of the stakeholders being involved. Even though this is part of the DESE food and nutrition review, this is not just a food and nutrition department. The local wellness policy is that board policy. It is a policy that's through the entire district. It's for everyone to be involved, teachers, students, everyone to have to provide the most health and wellness activities. There are so many things you can add to your wellness policy. Besides just those minimum requirements, ways to expand, and even reach out to us for ideas. There's so many schools like the priority schools from the previous years with Missouri Healthy Schools.
Right.
Watching those stories and seeing what some of the different schools are doing. Like I said, reaching out to us, we can give you some examples of wellness policies to go in that with really wonderful things they're doing with Farm to School, just to provide nutrition education and expose kids to nutrition just for lifelong health and nutrition for those children. And so there's just so many wonderful things you can do with local wellness policy besides just those minimum requirements. And that's, I think that's, besides us just providing that assistance for making sure you're in compliance, which is important for the USDA, but helping you expand. So we're there in the Missouri Healthy Schools team is a good example. because it includes not just, it includes Department of Education, Food and Nutrition. It includes, it includes Guy. It includes a Department of Health. So there's so many different disciplines coming together, and we are all there for assistance for schools, for mental health, health services, food and nutrition, physical activity. There's experts in all those areas that are there to provide assistance to schools. And I think that's really a key beyond just meeting the basic requirements.
Ginger, you're exactly right. And I do know that moving forward, I know Lisa Farmer is going to be
absolutely
looking at doing something with the farm to school.
Yes.
And I think we're going to kick that off sometime in September or October.
Excellent.
I know that's something that we're going to do a focus on. So there'll be a lot more coming out in this upcoming school year, again, on what we're theming, right now tonight. And with it, I'm just going to do this just for the sake that I know Jimmy will be happy. So I'm going to put this up here. What is DESI doing to support schools? Now, I know you have talked about that, but I just want to make sure that we have his statement that he made for us. And I'm just going to read it verbatim. So Jimmy says, at the state level here at DESI, we work as a coalition with various departments to make sure that school districts are informed and supported. Any school district that receives federal funding for its breakfast and lunch programs have a set of guidelines to follow. We ensure that they are aware of those guidelines and offer help in the form of training and resources to make sure that they are in compliance. And again, if you want more information, you can go straight here to Missouri Healthy Schools, as we already said. But I just wanted to put that in there because I know Jimmy couldn't be with us tonight, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that, this is exactly what we're doing. This is to support this process. So what I'd like to do is just, any final thoughts, Ginger, we'll go to you. Do you have any final thoughts on obviously tonight's topic?
I just think that, like I said, just getting a variety of stakeholders involved, finding those people in your district that are passionate about health and wellness and taking that and going with it. There's so many things you can do with your wellness policy. There are those minimum requirements, but you can tailor it to meet your needs. I would suggest to go onto the Missouri Healthy Schools website and watch some of the inspirational videos, things that other schools are doing, and consider implementing some of those type of activities at your own schools. And we are available. That QR code with the DESI Food and Nutrition Wellness webpage has tons of different resources for wellness on there. Links to the Missouri Healthy School page. My contact information is on there, and we're here to help.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get Barb on for any final thoughts.
Okay.
Let's see if we get her.
Read in the chat. Share any final thoughts? Okay. I think this partnership is great that we have with our office with Food Nutrition Services and with Missouri Healthy Schools, and just all the stakeholders and partnerships that we have around the state, working to just make student wellness a priority and to kind of bridge the gap in student wellness around the policies. And just the time and commitment that it takes to update these policies. So that's been our goal, is to really provide those resources. Ginger's done an amazing job providing the technical assistance and developing the resources that we really needed, and just continue to drive the work forward as we help schools with updating their policies and really help schools to not only use a model policy, but really make it theirs. And I think that's really the goal, is to, the schools to have a goal and the schools to create their own wellness. And it's a committee. It takes a committee. Yeah.
Absolutely. Barbara, thank you for sharing that. And I know it's a bummer that, she had technical difficulties, but she hung in there. We got a chance to at least hear from her, but I totally agree with what she was saying. So Ginger, I'm going to echo what you said, that as we wrap up, this school year for us, I would encourage anyone who's watching this podcast, go back and see some of our previous episodes, because we have highlighted so many schools that have had success. And to Barbara's point, it is about really making it your own. Even though there's the guidance and the guidelines, you still have a lot of flexibility within it. That's what the feedback that I've been getting as I've been doing these podcasts each and every month with these different school districts. And so, Ginger and Barbara, I want to thank both of you so much for being on tonight. Certainly looking forward to bringing you back, because I do know we're going to have you back next year, because I already talked about our planning, because this is kind of like a part one, if you would, in terms of what's going to happen moving forward. So, Ginger, I want to give a little sneak peek here. Talk to them about what we'll be doing sometime, probably about, I don't know, 9 months from now, what we're planning on doing with our next podcast.
I can't.
With basically looking at schools and those that are.
I'm sorry. Yes. So the project I just started, just very new, is reaching out to those schools. So we will be working on highlighting some of those schools, the success stories, and the assistance we provided with those schools that I've reached out to about 100 schools throughout the state of Missouri.
Wow.
Working on providing assistance on the triennial assessment, getting them in compliance, but then working to provide any additional support. If I need to bring Lisa Farmer in from Farm to School, if they're wanting to expand anything, if they're looking at physical activity or anything like that. So we're going to be highlighting success stories from those outreach and highlighting those schools that had success.
Well, Ginger, that's one of my favorite shows to always do. I love hearing the success stories, and as well as the challenges, though. I mean, the thing is, a lot of schools will have some sticking points or some challenges.
Oh, sure.
But it's awesome to hear how they problem solve to get over it and move forward. That's one of the things I love about doing these podcasts, because let's just be honest with you. We know success is not in some linear fashion, right?
Sure.
This doesn't work usually that way. And so it's really interesting to see how school districts will lock arms and figure it out together as they navigate, through this whole process. So,
sure.
So I'm so excited that you get to oversee that, because you'll get to highlight all the schools you're working with. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be great. Yes.
All right. So we want to thank everyone for watching tonight's Missouri Healthy Schools podcast as we wrap up the 23-24 school year. I certainly want to thank my guests, Barbara Shaw and Ginger Thompson. My name is Guy Danhoff. We want to thank you for an amazing year. We're looking forward to coming back in September, certainly seeing Ginger and Barbara again sometime in next school year. But thank you all for watching it all right here on the Missouri Healthy Schools podcast live. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you.